Hey, Tom, here we are. Part three of Xenophon's Hiero. I think to recap quickly, we've talked about love and we talked about power. And I think this time we're going to talk about friendship. So I'll get going here. Turn now and contemplate the sort of friendship whereof it is given to tyrants to partake. At first, let us examine with ourselves and see if friendship is truly a great boon to mortal man. How fares it with the man who is beloved of friends? See with what gladness his friends and lovers hail his advent, delight to do him kindness, long for him when he is absent from them, and welcome him most gladly on his return. In any good which shall betide him, they rejoice together, or if they see him overtaken by misfortune, they rush to his assistance as one man.
Nay, it has not escaped the observation of states and governments that friendship is the greatest boon, the sweetest happiness which men may taste. At any rate, the custom holds, in many states, to slay the adulterer alone of all with impunity. For this reason, clearly, that such miscreants are held to be destroyers of that friendship which binds the woman to be the husband, since whereby some untoward chance a woman suffers violation of her chastity, husbands do not the less honor them as far as that goes, provide true affection still appear unsullied.
So sovereign a good do I, for my part, esteem it to be loved, that I do verily believe spontaneous blessings are outpoured from gods and men on one so favored. This is that choice possession which, beyond all others, the monarch is deprived of. But if you require further evidence that what I say is true, look at the matter thus. No friendship, I presume, is sounder than that which binds parents to their children and children to their parents, brothers and sisters to each other, wives to husbands, comrade to comrade.
If then you will but thoughtfully consider it, you would discover it is the ordinary person who is chiefly blessed in these relations. While of tyrants, many have been murderers of their own children, many by their children murdered. Many brothers have murdered of one another in contest for the crown. Many a monarch has been done to death by the wife or his bosom, or even by his own familiar friends, by whom, of whose affection, he was proudest.
How can you suppose, then, that being so hated by those whom nature predisposes and law compels to love him, the tyrant should be loved by any living soul beside? That was a short one.
It was very short, yes.
So, I think in this case, normally I don't have a lot of sympathy for the tyrant, but I think in this case, he's right. It sort of sucks trying to make a friend if you're a tyrant.
I think it's self-explanatory, and it's interesting, that was written centuries before the Ides of March or any number of assassinations. So
I read this book about Roman emperors. They sure murdered their wives and cousins and fathers and brothers and children a lot.
Not just Roman emperors, like Chinese emperors and dynasty. That was common. And the common method in those days, so a concubine would try to slip an abortive drug, like they would offer a soup as an offering, like this is a very expensive bird nest. We imported from some exotic part elsewhere. Yes, just keep drinking it, and and then something happens. The baby never comes out right, or the baby doesn't come out at all. So, yeah.
I was reading this one horrifying. This book on sort of all the Roman emperors, the descendants of Augustus, and at one point, like these poor two little girls, they're like 5 and 6 or something, and like some power shift happens, and then they get put to death, and the guy in charge of putting him to death, they said, well, it's an offense against the god to murder a virgin, so I had to rape them first.
Oh,
I was
good
like,
Lord. I did not
good
know that
God.
story.
I
That's
was
tremendous.
already like, oh, that's so sad. I was like, oh, that's even worse.
What? I have not.
So yeah, I think it sucked to be a tyrant from that perspective.
Well, I, this should be a suggested reading for everyone in power today, autocratic power. I think they should probably already feel this way. So I think that they read, Euro, and like, yeah, this guy understands me, totally gets me.
Totally gets me. The tyrant's life sucks. Well, and you see, like normally Simonides is pretty good at like countering all these objections and like, nah, you're kind of just whining here, dude. Like, actually, you have it pretty good. I think in this particular very short passage, you'll see Simonides is totally silent.
Is this work taught in school? Or is it available? Does it come out?
It's very much a minor work of a fairly minor philosopher, right? I mean, this guy isn't really, in the top Greek philosophers or anything.
Yeah,
His big thing is this. It's like this story of this big war against the Persians, I think, the Anabasis. But I mean, that's more of like an adventure novel.
I have no idea. I mean, I'm still pretty new to Greek classical literature, so I have no idea like how much there is to catch up.
There used to be a lot more, but the Christians burned a lot of it.
Alexandria, the
No,
library.
the early Christians were like super grumpy about all the Greek philosophy. They felt like their whole thing was, we took the good parts from the Greeks. Now let's just destroy everything else so that nobody gets any ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
So they were a little harsh initially. I think once the Christians took over in Rome, they were like, now we're in power.
Was that the same period where they also decided to pick and choose what books to include in the Bible? I think.
Probably, I'm sure it was all around that, because that's. I think once everybody got in power, suddenly like the group was like, oh, now let's whip this thing into shape here.
Well, that was a very short one, and yeah, I'm
not much to talk about beyond pretty obvious that tyrants can't have
well, I
friends.
feel bad for Euro for this part, but I'm sure that will
Yeah.
change as we move along to other parts. That they have to watch their back. So,
well, I think that's all we have to say about this one. Stay tuned for part 4, where hopefully get a little more action in part 4.
yeah.
All right. See you, Tom.
See ya. So you can